Hello everyone, and we continue with Chapter 5, Part 4. Saito and I took hold of him and ran into the forest to escape under cover of night. "We'll be in Hakuoki soon, Kondou. Hang in there." Right. Perhaps it was because I'd never seen him lose a battle before, but this was the first time I'd seen Kondou so drained. "I let so many men die," said Kondou. "There's no point in beating yourself up over that now. Like Hijikata said, we just don't have what it takes to beat an army with Western weapons and tactics." I might as well have kept my mouth shut, for all that my words seemed to reach him. "Perhaps if someone else were the chief, maybe they wouldn't have died." "Are you listening to me? I said..." "Hey, who's out there?" From the other side of the bushes I heard a voice that didn't sound familiar. I peeked out just long enough to catch sight of a uniform that wasn't ours. "I know you heard me. Who are you?" His voice had quickly taken on a dangerous edge. "I'll buy you some time," said Saito. "Take the chief and escape." "Thank you, Saito." I gave him a quick bow of thanks and then tiptoed away, Kondou in tow. We had to get down off the mountain as quickly as possible. Just as I had finally managed to get Kondou moving at a decent pace, a shadow leapt out of the undergrowth to bar our way. "I had a feeling you might be here," said Kyuju Amagiri. "Ah!" The shadow was none other than the demon Amagiri, companion of Kazama. "Yukimura," said Kondou, "wasn't he with the Satsuma?" "Yes." "Then we can no longer escape," said Kondou. "As a man, I wish to take responsibility for this war and all the men I've lost. Will you ask him to assist me with my suicide?" What? No, I can't let you die here. If you want to take responsibility for your loss, then you have to live so that you can take your revenge in the next battle." Amagiri had remained silent for our short exchange, but now he spoke up. "Yes, I serve the Satsuma domain, but I have been given no orders regarding the Shinsengumi. My only business here is with the girl." "Me?" He nodded. "Kazama is vexed by you and the young man Hijikata. He disregards the wishes of the domain and does as he pleases, not as he is ordered. The Satsuma domain is troubled. However, we do not yet care to cut our ties with the Satsuma domain." Amagiri's eyes promised violence, and his body tightened, ready to make good on that promise. "For that reason, Chizuru Yukimura, you must die here." "Ah!" He had no weapon, but I knew just how powerful he was, even without one. Had I been carrying the finest sword ever made, he still could have ended my life easily. Nonetheless, I would not be killed without a fight, no matter how futile that fight might prove to be. I drew my sword. "Kondou! Go! This man is after me, and only me. You must escape." "But..." "I'll be fine. I have a sword, and he has no weapons at all." Please, the Shinsengumi needs you. You can't abandon them. Kondou's mouth hung slack for a moment, struck speechless. Then he shut it, set his jaw, and drew his sword. No matter the reason, an honourable warrior cannot run away and leave a woman to fight alone. Kondou, what are you saying? I'm under orders from Hijikata. I have to protect you, please. But he would not be swayed. Kondou turned to face Amagiri. I am the chief of a defeated army, said Kondou. My recklessness has sent many of my men to their deaths, but I can still give my life to protect a woman. As a warrior, no, as a man, I can think of no better way to die. No! His face was calm and serene, and there was no hesitation in his eyes. I'd seen that look before, on Inui's face just before he died under Kazama's blade. There would be no convincing him. His mind was made up. When he spoke, his voice rang with determination. I am Isami Kondou, chief of the Shinsengumi. Yeah! His sword held high, he charged toward Amagiri. No! He was going to die, just like Inui had. I buried my face in my hands, overcome with despair and helplessness. You challenge me, knowing that you cannot win, said Amagiri, for the sake of someone who cannot defend themselves. Your actions are worthy of respect. Amagiri's hands rested calmly at his sides, even as Kondou charged toward him. Humph, said Amagiri. At the last moment he slid aside as if he were made of water. He grasped Kondou's blade with his left hand and drove his right into the other man's stomach. Gah! said Kondou. As Kondou began to fall toward the ground, Amagiri flipped him around so that he landed on his back hard. I've knocked most of the air out of him. He won't be able to move for a while, said Amagiri. He glanced down at Kondou, groaning on the ground, then turned his eyes to me. You are next, Chizuru Yukimura. Do not blame me for what I must do. I took a deep breath and fixed my eyes on Amagiri's. He had defeated Kondou with his bare hands. Even with my sword it was foolish to think I could beat him. I knew that. But that didn't give me the right to turn tail and run just to save myself. Your sword cries, said Amagiri. I can see that you are terrified of death. I whimpered. He had seen straight through me. I felt my throat tighten. Yeah! It came out as more of a scream of terror than a battle cry, but I charged toward him nonetheless. With about as much effort as it took for him to breathe, Amagiri sidestepped my attack. Ah! He dodged, but he hadn't counterattacked. I couldn't give up just because my first strike hadn't hit. I lashed out again and again, but he bent and twisted away as if his body were made of water. None of my blows came even close to landing. Then finally, ah! I hadn't even seen his leg move until it slammed into my sword arm with the force of a cannonball. My vision went white with pain, and my sword tumbled from my suddenly slack grip. With a choked moan of agony, I slid to the ground. No, I had to get up. My brain screamed at me to move, to pick up my sword and fight, but the roar of pain drowned it out. "This battle is concluded," said Amagiri. "Do not fear, it will be quick. Then you will hurt no longer." Oh! I ground my teeth in anger and pain, even as I felt hot tears spring to my eyes. "I'm sorry, Hijikata," I thought to myself. "You told me to protect Kondou. You told me to survive. But in the end, I couldn't do anything right." I squeezed my eyes shut as the tears slid down my cheeks and waited for the blow to fall. "Giving up so easy? A real Shinsengumi warrior doesn't stop fighting until they're dead. The only thing on your mind right now should be how you're going to outthink this chump." That voice! It couldn't be! My head shot up just in time to see Hijikata leap through the air and land a sword blow on Amagiri's arm. "You," said Amagiri. "Only thought I'd be fighting the Imperial Army out here. Guess I'll be taking care of a demon too," said Hijikata. He stood before us, his hair pure white. His red eyes shone with desire for battle, and they were fixed on Amagiri. "Did your battle with Kazama teach you nothing?" said Amagiri. "A fury is a mere echo of a true demon. No matter how powerful you may think yourself, you cannot defeat us." "Never know till you try," said Hijikata. "You know, they say if you're trying to fight a swordsman bare-handed, you have to be 3 times as good as he is." "I see," said Amagiri. "Only bloodshed will satisfy you. Very well. I shall be your opponent." He gave Hijikata a short, polite bow and dropped himself easily into a ready stance. Hijikata's Izumi no Kami Kanisada flickered through the air, little more than a streak of silver. "Ah," said Amagiri. He blocked with one hand and dodged away from the flickering blade. "What?" said Hijikata. Before Hijikata could react, Amagiri's foot drove itself into his stomach. "Ugh," said Hijikata. His face twisted in pain, and he staggered back a step. Perhaps it was his fury-born strength, or perhaps it was simply adrenaline, but he surged back and leapt toward Amagiri. "Ah!" His sword leapt forward to bury itself in Amagiri's chest. Blood spurted out, splashing across Hijikata's face. "Eh?" said Hijikata. He jerked back, pulling his sword free. No sooner was it out than the wound began to close. "Right, you guys heal quick, don't you? So it's straight through the heart or not at all, huh? Guess it would be too easy otherwise." His sword shone with fresh blood. "I've got you figured, though. I know how you move. You're tough, but you're not impossible." Drenched in blood, Hijikata looked more like a monster than a human being. His eyes were wide and hungry, and there was something terrifying and inhuman about his expression as he whipped his sword through the air. "Grr!" said Amagiri. He leapt back, Hijikata's sword almost catching his fingers as he did so. Jabs and parries, feints and counter-feints, the battle flowed back and forth between them like a living thing, its changes moving too fast for any mortal eyes to track. Neither man showed any sign of tiring, even as they dodged and attacked in ways that would have been unthinkable to any human. Even in the middle of that maelstrom of death and violence, I could see Hijikata smiling. The smell of blood hung heavy in the air, and his grin spoke of a fury's lust for death. They leapt apart and regarded one another for several long moments before Amagiri spoke. I never imagined that a fury could match me in battle. You are unexpected. This power of yours, what will you do with it? What? Said Hijikata. His tone was a mixture of surprise and disdain. Protect those I care for, said Hijikata. What other reason could there be for wanting power? Those you care for, said Amagiri. Would you count the Tokugawa shogunate among that number? No, said Hijikata. This is bigger than the shogunate. They don't even compare. Amagiri closed his eyes and was silent. What had gotten into him? Why had he stopped fighting? Then, this was the perfect time to strike. I reached down slowly and picked up the sword I dropped only minutes before. I made to move forward when a hand on my shoulder stopped me. Stay back, said Saito. But Hijikata is going to... That demon no longer thirsts for blood. This battle is over, said Saito. What? I turned back to Hijikata and the demon. Demons are not meant to involve themselves in the world of humans, said Amagiri. Now that you have become a fury, you belong in the shadows as well. Yeah, said Hijikata. I know that. I'm not interested in my name in the history books. Well, if you understand that, I shall leave the rest to you, said Amagiri. What? He is proud even for a demon, said Amagiri. If you have indeed humiliated him, I doubt he will ever forgive you. It is unlikely that you will defeat him. However, if there is something you wish to protect, then please use the power you have been granted to do so, said Amagiri. In his own stoic way, Hijikata looked as confused as I felt. Could Amagiri be trusted? What were his true intentions? There is one more thing I must tell you, said Amagiri. The power of the Furies is not magic or a gift from the gods. Great strength, lightning speed, and mortal wounds that close themselves. This power was already within you, but had you stayed human, you would have spent it in decades, not minutes. You are only borrowing these things. Oh! My hands flew to my mouth. By borrowing, did he mean that when Hijikata used the speed and strength of a fury, he was picking away at his future, his life? So you're saying that every time I use that stuff, my life gets a little shorter? Asked Hijikata. Yes, said Amagiri. He nodded gravely, and Hijikata gave him a bitter smile. Well, makes sense. Seemed too good to be true, said Hijikata. Guess it's only natural I'd have to trade something for this kind of power. And with no greater protest than that bitter smile, Hijikata accepted the greatest cost of becoming a fury. Then I will be on my way, said Amagiri. Hold on, said Hijikata. I want to ask you something. And that is? You sure you want to let us get away? Asked Hijikata. If you don't kill me now, I'm pretty sure I'll end up killing your pal Kazama. Amagiri shrugged, his face impassive. If you defeat him, then that was all he amounted to. We demons are not sentimental. Then, with a last polite nod, he disappeared into the night. Hijikata sighed. His enemy gone at last, he slumped and took a long, deep breath. Hijikata, are you all right? Yeah, fine. Where's Kondou? Over there, said Saito. Hijikata nodded and ran over to the chief. Kondou, are you okay? Are you hurt? He looked as if he had seen a ghost. Hijikata stood before him, his white hair and red eyes bright in the moonlight, a fury. Toshi, you... Oh, said Hijikata. He started and then looked away almost guiltily. Kondou stared at him for a moment before asking in a soft, stunned voice, Are you a fury? Yeah, said Hijikata. I didn't have a choice, all right. It was for the Shinsengumi. For a moment he sounded very composed, but as I peered closer I realized that he was desperately avoiding Kondou's gaze. He couldn't bear to look his friend in the eye. We were silent for several moments, and when the first raindrop hit me, it took me by surprise. Oh, it's starting to rain. Look, we've got to get back to Edo and start reorganizing. We need to discuss our next move, said Hijikata. Right. Come on, Kondou. We have to hurry. I turned to make sure Kondou was following, but he simply stood there as if he'd forgotten how to walk. Kondou, is something wrong? It began to rain harder, and still Kondou didn't move. Rain ran down his cheeks to his chin. Or were they tears? What have I been doing? Said Kondou. Today I sent young men who trusted me, into battle. They died. And I've made you, a man I've known for years, into a fury, a monster. Kondou, what is this? Said Hijikata. No one blames you. It doesn't matter how great of a tactician you are, swords can't beat guns. I made bad calls too, at Tobo Fushimi, and it got Gen and Yamazaki killed. Defeat is in the past. We can't change it now. What we can do is turn this around and win the next time, right? Besides, I don't regret becoming a fury. Hell, I'm stronger and faster than I ever was, and I can use that to help you out. Nothing could make me happier than that. Rain poured down their faces. Surely it was my imagination, but for a moment it almost looked as though Hijikata was crying. Kondou stared at him for a long moment, then finally drew himself up. "I apologize. I was being foolish," said Kondou. "Forget what I said." Something in his voice told me that even he didn't quite believe that.